Charlie.
Mr. Ross, how are you?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
You survived well Key West, huh?
Listen, not everybody survives trips to the Conch Republic. I've had some memorable trip there over the years. My sister used to live there. So I did survive a couple of New Year's and a July 4th. I did not ever go down there for Fantasy Fest, but I did referee Key West versus the Toledo Celtics, a touring side from Ohio this past week, and it was a great time. We can maybe talk a little bit more about that later. But shout out to the Key West guys down there. They're keeping things going despite, a very transient population that comes and goes. But they managed to get, I think they must have had close to 20 players out there, and they actually won the game by a try against a very experienced Toledo side with some big boys in their 50s who I wouldn't want to hit. Anyway, welcome to episode 21 of TFRO, Talking Florida Rugby Occasion. We're obviously in the middle of the Florida rugby season, so this is our Florida recap episode for the week. We are somebody contributed and said that I say awesome too much on this podcast. I'm not going to throw them under the bus and say who they are. They are related to me, however.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to say we're the most awesome rugby podcast in the entire awesome Southeast United States.
I'll go further. I would say the awesomest.
Charlie, have we heard from anybody that there is there another existing podcast like this with regional rugby? Is there New York rugby talking New York rugby occasionally, or talking California rugby occasionally?
To be honest, I don't have time to be listening to other podcasts. This one takes all my time and more. So yes, anyway, I just want to say hello to Valentina. Hola, Valentina. She's right there. She's always watching. She's my biggest fan.
Yeah, your daughter.
And I hope she sends me a picture at the end of her watching so I get proof. Dale, vale.
We do like to hear from our listeners. If you want to jump in, the comments are open on Facebook, YouTube. We're apparently on Twitch today. For those those gaming nerds out there who enjoy watching things on Twitch. I know we had Alex Tucci on one of our first episodes, the former former Western star now playing for Utah Warriors in MLR. He's a big Twitch guy. He games all the time on there, streaming live. So maybe Alex will be checking us out on Twitch either tonight or later. But you can join us on Twitch, apparently on Twitter as well via Periscope.
Apparently.
That's thanks. We managed to bump up our StreamYard, which is the software we use to stream our podcast. We bumped up our subscription to be able to stream to a bunch more different platforms. We can have up to 8 people in at a time, which I think we have a busy episode tonight, Charlie.
No, we can have up to 10 people at a time.
10 people.
We can broadcast it to 8 places, and now it's supposed to be in 1080. So the quality should be better.
Man, I'm not sure how this second chin looks in 1080p. I apologize for those out there watching this unshaved chin, but my jobs don't require me to shave as often as many jobs, so I take advantage of that. But yeah, we were able to up our subscription to StreamYard thanks to the contributions which Charlie posted earlier. Some of the folks who have helped out over the last few weeks since we started this weekly Florida recap.
Look at this guy! Look at this guy bragging about his record. Hey, Steve, that is not cool. That is not cool.
They may go to 3-0 this weekend. They play the University of Florida, who I don't remember the last time they won a game. So it wouldn't be surprised me. Who is this? White Taters? I definitely smell. I just came straight from soccer practice, so there's no doubt. I coached my son's soccer team, and I was running around there like an old man this evening. But again, thanks to those that have contributed. And this is the kind of thing we can do. We can bump up our subscription on StreamYard. If you want to help out, Charlie's got the information at the bottom there. rugbyfl.com/GoFundMe, or you can Venmo whatever you can to rugbyfl. And I always forget to mention, you can watch all the previous episodes. I know we have a lot of new listeners and viewers to our podcast. We spoke to the likes of Perry Baker, Cam Dolan, Chris Thomas, USA Women's Eagle, who we'll talk about in a little bit. We talked to Alex Tucci, as I said. The Perry Baker episode was awesome. You can find all the episodes available at rugbyfl.com/TFRO via YouTube there. So please go back and check out some of the old episodes. The one with Perry Baker, I think, stands out for me as probably the best so far. So again,
thank you. Let me just thank quickly Michael Gomez. He just sent something on Venmo. Thank you, Mike.
Boy, Mike Gomez up there at Florida State, keeping things running in Tallahassee. Although I was disappointed to hear earlier today that Tallahassee D4 and U23 will not be making the trip down to Weston this weekend. But I understand it's a long way, and in these pandemic times, I understand. So if anybody's looking for a match this weekend, there are copies available. But let's get back to we do have a sponsor, Charlie, coming next week. I'm not going to spoil it, but we do have a sponsor who's sponsoring the rest of our episodes this season, and I think we're going to have him on. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to have him on next Monday. We are really excited because this is somebody that actually just saw the last episode and he said, "Oh, I have to support this," and he is going to be sponsoring the next 10 episodes. One of the two main sponsors. We are waiting for another one, and so that's great. And we're going to have him on next Monday.
No, it's awesome stuff because Charlie, more than me, Charlie puts a ton of work into this podcast. You know, he obviously gets all the videos sorted out, highlights, prepares the graphics, sets everything up for the streams. It does take a lot of work. Obviously, we have to pay for StreamYard every month as well as our hosting for the audio podcasts. All of our episodes are also available via all major podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. All right, I think that's enough of the nonsense, Charlie.
Yes.
I can't remember if we effed up last week.
I don't know. We have.
I did have to get you in the right studio today, so we can mention that. I said everybody else is in the studio except you, Charlie. Where are you?
I don't know what happened there. I was,
but we found him because I don't want to have to do this on my own. I'm barely talented enough to carry this.
Nobody does.
With the commentating side of things or the presenting side of things, I should say. But let's get to. We have a very busy episode. I think we've got more coaches than we've ever had. We're going to talk to some from the game of the week as well as some associated with those clubs. We're going to get a quick update on Ruggerfest if Nick Vickers pops in. I don't know if he has yet or not. I don't see him. I don't see him in the green room. But I spoke to Ruggerfest a little bit. But let's get to our three quick things, Charlie. First, so USA Eagles are sort of starting to get things going again. Obviously, things have been stopped due to the pandemic. But the women did announce their 51-player World Cup performance squad. And part of that squad is Chris Thomas, former UCF player. She can play on the wing and the center. She also plays sevens for the USA. And she's also in their squad for the Madrid Sevens, I think, if I'm not mistaken. We had her on an earlier podcast episode, which was an excellent episode as well. So you can go check that out as well on rugbyfl.com/tfro. So congrats to Chris Thomas for being back in the Eagles mix. She was out of the mix for a little while when they were doing some of their camps last year, but we hope she would be back in once things got back serious again and they announced the World Cup squad. So again, a 51-player preliminary squad for the women's Eagles, which will be cut down obviously at some point, but great to see Chris Thomas, a Florida product, in there. The men also released their squad for the Madrid Sevens, which will be the first Sevens tournament, I think, the first serious Sevens tournament we've had in a long time. Malachi Esdale, who's a former Naples youth player, former UCF player, did not make the squad. He was part of the inter-squad scrimmages back in December, but hopefully he remains part of Mike Friday's plans, and he'll obviously play for the SaberCats, I assume, this season, unless he gets, unless the 7 series gets going at some point and he gets drafted into that, but I'm not sure whether that's going to happen anytime soon. Speaking of Mike Friday, he joined us as a surprise guest. He's the USA Eagles Sevens coach. He joined us as a surprise guest in that Perry Baker episode. So that makes that an awesome episode. He was a surprise guest. Perry Baker joined us live from England at I think it was at 1 a.m. or something. Yeah. So he's a great talker. So again, go back and check out that. What episode was that, Charlie? You remember off the top of your head?
7.
Oh, 7.
I don't really know, but nobody's going to check, so that's fine.
Listen, just scroll down and look for Perry Baker. Go check it out. It's the most fun episode we've had. All right, on to our second quick thing. I like that headline, Charlie. We're going to have there's a couple of ref courses coming up. I already got an email and some other complaints about referees this past week. And again, I'm Ross Davenport, and I assigned the referees for the state of Florida. Obviously, we're struggling a bit at the moment due to some referees opting out due to COVID, some getting injured, stupid things like breaking thumbs, playing touch. I won't mention who that was, although he's a member of the Palm Beach Panthers, and his name runs with John Mampa. And we had some other issues as well with referees missing flights that were going to come down. Anyway, we need refs, right? So we're going to have a level 1 ref course Sunday the 28th of February in Port St. Lucie, so not relatively central location. So only a couple of hours from South Florida, less than that from Central Florida. And you do is on the West Coast can jump over. So look out for information on that coming up via, I'm sure Charlie will have the information as well as the Florida Rugby Union website and USA Rugby as well. They're just waiting for approval from USA Rugby. And also Sunday, March 14th, we'll have a course in Gainesville. Now, we're dying in the north end of the state. We've had referees again. I think we've lost 3 of our top referees in the center of the state due to work or injury or not being available due to COVID. So if you want to come out and help out and pick up the whistle, it'd be greatly appreciated. So level 1 ref course, 2 weeks away in Port St. Lucie, and then Sunday, March 14th, so a month away in Gainesville. We were going to mention Six Nations, Charlie. Maybe we'll mention after this, but I know you had your highlights. Maybe we can throw a couple on at some point here after this one, maybe. But I would decide I really want to try and promote some of the Florida talent that ends up going out of state, to the next level, whether it be at college or club level or pro level. Life were supposed to start their men's season this past weekend against Arkansas State in D1A, but it was canceled due to ice storms. Of course, something we don't have to deal with here in Florida. We don't have to deal with it too often in Atlanta either, which is why when these things happen in the South, everything goes haywire. So I was checking out the Florida, the Life and the Arkansas State rosters. Life do have 4 players from Florida: Jared Miller and Cameron Veloz from Tampa, David Rhymes from Belglade, and Chase Shaw-Haskin from Pembroke Pines. I know Chase played for Weston and Key Biscayne, I think, for a little bit, as well as West Pines, I think. I'm not sure who David Rhymes played for. If any of our coaches coming on can tell us who David Rhymes played for. I know he was in the USA U20s mix at one point. Oh, that was Miller, Jared Miller. I take that back. And then Arkansas State do also have 2 Florida players, Isaiah Poku from Cape Pirates and Elvis Searcy from Naples. So it would have been a nice, I don't know whether they would have played, but there's a nice Florida influence on both of those 2 squads. So if anybody out there, we're starting a database. I started today of players from Florida, Florida products, high school products, college products that are playing at the next level outside of the state. I think we have most of the MLR guys. A lot of them have obviously been on this show. But any college kids that have got scholarships or are playing at D1A programs, etc., outside of the state, please let us know. Charlie, CHARLEE at RugbyFL, as it says on his rugbyfl.com, as it says on his picture there. Or you can reach me on Twitter, Facebook, email rossdavenport@gmail.com. We want to try and promote as many of the Florida products as we can. So please reach out to us. And don't forget, Andrea's in the kitchen. Who said that?
I said it.
You said it. I think she's on the couch. She's actually quite comfortable when I walk past, hanging out with her dad and mom and hanging. So they're having fun out there.
She's a happy camper today.
Peace and quiet. Yeah. So I will mention open mic at the end of the show. So if you want to jump on, Charlie will post the link. We'll get to the open mic at the end of our review of the week. So if Charlie's going to post that link in the Facebook and YouTube, I don't know if you can do Twitch or not, Charlie, but maybe just YouTube and Facebook's enough. Grab a pair of headphones, plug them into your computer, or attach them via Bluetooth because that stops the echo, and then jump on and we'll bring you on. Champa says he'll ref during Ruggerfest, but he'll be on painkillers and angry at the world. Well,
that's a fair warning.
I don't know why you need your thumb to ref. I understand if you fall over, it might be a serious issue. But Tom, if you can just stay on your feet, we won't have any problem. But of course, I fell over in the last Palm Beach game. I didn't fall over this weekend in Key West. I refed 60 minutes and played 20 and managed to be tackled a couple of times, but I didn't fall over. So hopefully we'll see Tom out there at Ruggerfest. Speaking of Ruggerfest, has Nick Vickers joined us, Charlie?
No.
Anyway,
he's
a very busy man.
I can imagine.
Ruggerfest is going to be this Saturday. I heard today that there was allegedly some youth stuff supposed to be going on Sunday.
That's
been scrapped. Yes. So it's just on Saturday now. Charlie had the groups up last week, but there are some serious rugby teams coming into South Florida this Saturday to play some 10s. I don't remember the last time I ref 10s. I watched some of it at the Bermuda 10s, and I'm not a huge fan. It kind of takes the crappy parts of 7s and the crappy parts of 15s and mixes them together, but you don't really get the big smashes or the speed. But it's an interesting format, and obviously Ruggerfest has found some success going to this 10s. They've got a ton of teams come in since Savannah got cancelled, so I'm sure Charlie's trying to find those groups now. But I know
Let's just leave this for later if Nick comes in, okay?
Yeah, Life's bringing a team down. We got Optimus, which is a select side, bringing 2 sides. We got a team from Connecticut. We got a team from California, which is part Belmont Shore. I think there's some former Cal guys playing on that team. We got 2 teams coming down from Montana. We got a team from Green Bay. It's going to be a very serious tournament. So even if you have a game that day, try to get out and watch some games. It starts at 9:00 at Mills Pond Park. I know you just have to take your temperature before you come in the park. So if you have a negative COVID test, that may help you as well. I know they were asking some of the players. I saw the live roster. We did have the one guy that I saw on the roster who was a rugby ATL player to start last season. whose name escapes me now. He was a crossover football guy that was started the season in Rugby ATL, is now at Life. So Life sending down a pretty serious team, and should be some very quick rugby out there. Whether I'm prepared referee-wise for this, Charlie, I'm not 100% sure. We've lost a couple over the last few days, but the show will go on.
Of course,
should be fun if you can get out there on Saturday. All right, let's get to the action from this weekend, Charlie.
Okay.
Game of the week. We got a graphic.
Oh, I do. I'm just not used to using it. Okay, let's
put it up. Oh man, I think you may have ruined our sponsor for next week.
Yeah, maybe.
That's okay.
That was quick.
He just got free advertising. If you blinked, you may have missed it. But our game of the week was Boca, obviously one of the perennial D2 contenders, against Palm Beach, who have been one of the best D3 sides in the state over the last few years. So let's get to some highlights of this game before we get to talk to our two coaches. So go ahead, Charlie, and roll those when you get a second. Of course, as unprepared as I am, I did not watch these highlights in advance. So I'm going to admit that. I decided taking a nap today was a priority because I was still recovering from my Key West trip. Even though I didn't go crazy.
Just keep talking for a little bit because I'm not finding them right now.
Boca, this was Boca's, I think, first game of the season, right? They were supposed to play Tridents last week, and that game was canceled due to a positive COVID case in the Boca Raton camp. Palm Beach, speaking of the Tridents, Palm Beach had knocked off the Tridents in their first game of the season and the first sort of D3 over D2 upset of the season. We were denied that Boca Tridents game last week, but we got to see Boca Palm Beach this week, and it was a thriller. It was as close as we thought it might be. And Charlie, should we just bring the coaches in? Oh, here we go. There's the beautiful gray hair of Scott Duval refereeing this one. Beautiful, sunny Boca Raton, Florida. Obviously, Boca in the red and white, Palm Beach in their traditional pink. And I think it was Boca that took the early lead, if I'm not mistaken here. We'll watch the highlights. Maybe we can bring our coaches in here, Charlie.
Sure.
Chris Oosthuizen from Palm Beach and Eyal Hakim from Boca.
Welcome, guys.
Boca are very dangerous in the backs, and they showed it here coming off the set play and opening the scoring with a try there. Eyal Hakim, welcome. Who was that first try from, Eyal? I'm sure you remember.
From David Roddy, our inside center.
David Roddy. Could be the hairiest man in Florida rugby.
Possibly.
Which makes him I think it makes him so slippy to tackle, but he's a very talented center for Boca. Open the scoring. Who scored the second try?
I believe it was Michael Kirk, our brand new Irish flanker.
Always good having foreigners. So Boca went up to an early lead, but Palm Beach fought right back. Oosty, who's that try from there?
Oh, he's muted.
Oosty's muted, so we can't hear him. The conversion's good from his South African fly hat.
Unmute.
Sorry, I was the try was scored by Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson, what a name!
Yeah. Actually, Beauchamp Jackson, but everybody Jackson, calls him Bo.
A former Riviera Beach, former LSU Alexandria, former New Mexico Highlands. Right now, back home and plying his trade with the Panthers. I know several teams were after his services, and for good reason. He's a great ball carrier. Into the second half now. I think it was 12-12 at the half. Who scored your second?
Yes. Try? They did. It was 12-12 at the half, and Palm Beach actually missed two penalties that would have put them on the top going into the second half.
There's the go-ahead try, I think, there from Boca. Who's scoring that one there, Eyal?
That's our fullback, Darren Oliver.
Darren Oliver, a lot older than he looks, but a very talented player. One of the very talented backs in Boca. Can't let those backs get rolling. And I assume this is the fourth try of the day for Boca. Through the backs again, of course.
Yep, through Darren again.
Darren Oliver again, and he scores somewhat in the corner. As we see the Boca players celebrating, but a close game. Is that the last one there, Charlie? I think that's probably the last kick of the game, or the last kick of our highlights. Out of Don Estridge middle there. Field seems to be holding up quite well, which is rare for that field. It sometimes turns into a sandpit. See some new Boca jerseys, I think.
Yep, we played in our brand new jerseys this weekend as well.
One of these days, Boca will make up their mind what their colors are. red is clearly the primary color. Some years it's navy, some years black is the secondary color. I don't know, but I know traditionally navy was the color. But I'm glad to see them back in red and navy. Red and black needs to go away. Anyway, let's talk to our coaches from this. The winning coach, Eyal, and obviously Chris Oosthuizen ended up, unfortunately, on the losing side of things. Let's talk to Eyal first. Eyal, talk to us about the game on Saturday and how it went.
Well, it took a little bit for our guys to get kind of in a rhythm. We had a full week off as due to the COVID issues that we had. We had a player test positive, so we took the full week off and had everybody get tested, made sure that everybody was negative going into the game against Palm Beach. So we basically had, going into the game, one walkthrough on Friday prior to the game. And I think we had a mix of emotions on the guys. Some of the guys it took a little while to get into the game, and some were a little too amped up for the game and kind of made a few not typical mistakes that they made because they were a little too angst up.
Yeah, you obviously, I remember you had a friendly against Tridents. Oh no, Crew, excuse me, that came down and played you in a friendly that I refereed. And obviously, one game of contact over the last couple of months. It's not the best preparation. How, other than obviously the issue last week, how has Boca been dealing with the pandemic? I know you've had a few players back in the day that had it, but before we really got started, what sort of things have you used to get through this in practice?
A lot of it is them continuously moving and being honest with each other about what, if they have any symptoms or anything like that, not coming to training when they're not feeling well. A lot of players feel like they're going to lose a spot if they miss a practice. And I'd rather them tell me, hey, I'm not feeling well, and not show up, than us having to go through a full week of missing practice because of something like that, something that can be, figured out early on. And sometimes they do, like the guy that came on Tuesday that we had an issue with, he wasn't feeling any symptoms that he let us know about. So it makes it very tough to figure out, but all the guys took the time to go get tested and make sure that everything was, clear before we did anything past that.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody turned out to be negative. Obviously you can only control, what your team is doing. But even that's hard enough. You really can't control what the opponents do. What's been the toughest part about getting a team going in during this pandemic?
I think the biggest issue was just getting guys comfortable to start moving again. And I think once they got into the realm of, okay, training's done at a specific pace, to make sure that we're not standing around and talking and exposing each other to anything that could be potentially bad. They became more and more comfortable with things that we're doing at training. So everything is geared towards continuously getting them to move so that we're not breathing the same air in the same spot, and obviously doing the proper checks to do before training to make sure that everybody's coming in at least at a specific level rather than, just letting anybody come into training.
For sure. And talk about Palm Beach. Obviously your opponents on Saturday, you knew a little bit about them, but talk about what challenges they pose to your team.
Palm Beach was probably the hardest team we've faced in, I would say, other than the Tridents in the last year or so. They really posed a push defensively that we hadn't matched up against yet. So they put a lot of problems for our guys, feeling pressure that they don't normally feel in games. So that kind of made them have to react a little bit differently than they normally would. And it took a little bit for them to actually figure out how to react to the defensive pressure that they gave. And then on attack, they have a lot of great athletes out there. So that made it tough for them just to, have to man up and take guys to the ground. And they won a few of those contact battles in the first half, unfortunately.
No doubt. They got some big bodies and some very talented athletes, as you said. I'll go back to Boca. Who are some of the key players we should be looking out for? I know Darren Oliver, as you mentioned it during those highlights, and Dave Roddy, you've got some real solid backs, but who else we should be keeping an eye on?
Well, one of the players that wasn't there was our 8-man, Brendan O'Donoghue. He's a South African import, huge boy, fast, can run around. And then we have a few players that are coming up slowly. One of the guys that's really growing into a position is Michael Fish, our hooker. I mean, most of our guys are slowly coming into their own as in general. So a lot of the guys are really pushing each other to get better and better and better. So I can't really name just a couple players that make a difference, because with the way that we play, we try and play expansive rugby and not just focus on one person trying to score all the time or do everything for us.
Now you're putting in, I think, 2 sides for Ruggerfest this Saturday.
We are, yes.
So we should expect to see. Are you splitting them into? Are you evening them out, or are you putting one stronger team than the other? Do you think?
That's decisions to be made on Friday.
Well, let's get to my final question. I know I sent you this one. I'm not sure how you felt when I sent it to you, but Boca's been very close to obviously state titles over the last few years. You're being picked by the Tridents. You obviously weren't coaching for those years, but what do you think has really kept this club from winning more titles over the last 5 years?
I honestly couldn't tell you. They've got all the athletes to be able to do it. That's part of the thing that makes it a little bit confusing, because they've been at the state title game. They've fought all their way up there, and it was normally a tight game that they would lose. It wasn't like a blowout. Yeah. So I honestly don't know. I don't know. It could have been from a mistake. Could have been from a coaching mistake. It could have been from any kind of mistake when it's a tight game like that. So it's really hard to say, there was one thing that could be improved. What we're trying to do now as a club is slowly improve the culture into a more professional style of overall attitude towards the game, so that when they get out there and they do hit that title game, it's taken on with that same approach as you would in a professional atmosphere, so that when they get on the field, it's all business. There's no room for the mistakes that they may have before taken on.
Well, good stuff. Thanks for the info, Eyal. Let's get to Chris Oosthuizen. Hang out with us, Eyal, in case we have anything else for you. But let's talk to Chris Oosthuizen, the losing coach on Saturday. Chris, talk to us from how that game went from your viewpoint.
Yeah, keep on rubbing the losing in.
Listen, you've had a very successful few years as coach of puppies. You got to lose now and again to keep the boys honest.
Yeah. No, I mean it's no biggie losing to a quality team like Boca. We knew that we were in a fight right from the start, and I'm very proud of my boys, how they stood up and played their game. You can only play what is in front of you, and in the end, 2 of the tries were scored off our mistakes. And mistakes come up in Eyal's conversation, and that's going back to my boys too. The more mistakes you make, the easier it is for the other team to capitalize on that. And a quality team with guys that jump on those mistakes, it's going to punish you. So overall, I'm really happy and proud of my boys. We executed our defensive plan, what we tried to do. Some of the stuff that we tried to do did not come off, and was exposed wide out. And that's fine. That's a learning experience, and the guys will learn from it, and go to the drawing board and fix those stuff. I have to say I had 2 critical injuries before we go into this game, 2 key playmakers. And so we had to move players around to fill in the gaps. And one of the players actually played injured, and it was clear that he couldn't launch. Launch speed was just not there for him. But other than that, man, I'm really happy, and it was a quality rugby match. I really enjoyed watching it, just as a rugby fan.
Excellent. Obviously, you guys will play each other again next month. I assume you'll be watching the video and sort of learning. Did things go to plan? Other than the mistakes? So you said you're pretty proud of the way they played, so I assume so.
Yeah, we had no attack. Our attack, which is normally a very good weapon for us, just did not fire. I don't know if the players were a little overwhelmed by the quality of the players that were opposite them, probably. Right. But there was very little attack, scripted attack, or our starter plays just did not come off the way we wanted to. Our lineouts were just abysmal. And you can't have that type of game and not fire on your own ball. Scrums were fantastic. I was very happy with my scrums, both on attack and defense. But other than that, it's back to the drawing board and see how we can fix this.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that rematch for sure. Now, you guys have lost a couple of games due to some cancellations. You were due to play Fort Lauderdale and Miami. I know earlier this season, 2 teams that have had struggles here early in the year. But I think we had some news on some rescheduling. With
right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we have some reschedules. We get Miami and we get the Tridents again. at some point, home games.
Yeah.
And it's just to give the boys rugby time. It's repetition, and then you can iron out those mistakes and execute on your game plan and refine those things that you want to do.
No doubt. Well, Eyal and Chris, I appreciate you. Two of the best coaches in the state and two of the best teams in the state. I'll look forward to the rematch later this year, and maybe we'll see each other in the knockout stages as well. Appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening.
Thank you, Ross.
Thanks, Ross.
Thanks, Eyal. Let's stick with the Boca theme, Charlie. Are you there, Charlie? There you are.
I'm always here, man. Come on.
Great to talk to those two guys. Two very experienced coaches, and doing good things with their clubs. Obviously, one at the D2 level, one at the D3 level. Perhaps Palm Beach will make the jump to D2 at some point in the near future. It's a shame that there's no national championship to compete for this year, because I think Palm Beach would certainly be able to give a lot of D3 teams in this country a run for their money. Let's get to our other sort of game of the week. You said you were going to play that graphic every time I said game of the week, but you don't have to do it by any means.
Hey,
Boca, as part of the day on Saturday that was finished by that senior men's game, they had a ton of youth stuff against Wellington. I think U8s all the way up to U19s. And we're going to talk to the two coaches from those U19 teams right now, Johan van Wyk from Boca and Alan Lawson from Wellington. But do you have some highlights for us first, Charlie?
I do.
And there's Dave Schnegelberger, former Palm Beach scrum half, who still likes to play now and again, now getting into the refereeing side of things. Good to see him out there really getting his feet wet on the U19 side of things. This one was a reasonably one-sided game for Boca, who coming off a bit of a heavy loss at Key Biscayne. Key Biscayne seems to be one of the better teams in the state early on this year. Well, I know they squeaked one out against Cape Pirates. They were a little short-handed this past weekend. But this was a nice interception try here by the Wellington Wizards. Going to go the distance. Things were tight early on in this one. I know there were a couple of red cards in the second half that obviously had an impact in this game. Maybe we can. I won't mention that conversion attempt there. Kicking in the U19s game is very spotty. Although we were talking last week, Charlie, about how solid Key Biscayne is with the foot.
Wow. That
could be a big difference.
Let me tell you, all these high school games, I'm pretty impressed on how intense they are. I don't know if it's I haven't just seen these games in a while, but all the teams, man, they play like it's the last one.
Well, I mean, a lot of them haven't played. Some of them obviously played football in the fall. Some schools played more than others on the football side of things, but a lot of these kids haven't played much rugby. They played a little bit, I think, last season before the pandemic shut things down. But listen, rugby contact's a lot different than football contact. No, it's great to see the boys out there smashing it around on Saturday out at Don Estridge. See a couple more Boca tries here. Boca got some big boys, Charlie.
They do.
Especially up front. I saw a prop that looked like he was about 6'3", 260.
And they have some very good players also. Both teams.
Let's bring on our head coaches while we watch these highlights.
Sure.
Johan van Wyk from Boca and Alan Lawson from Wellington. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening on T-Throat. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's talk to Johan first, our winning coach, who sent me his resume today, and it made my resume look very lame. Johan with a great rugby history, came over here from South Africa and played for Florida. Well, you just coached at Florida State, right, Johan?
Yeah, I coached at Florida State for a couple of years with Kirk Swanner. Michael Gomez was still playing at the time when I was helping out there. And then, just moved down to Boca. Played 1 or 2 seasons. Eyal, who was on a little bit earlier, he's trying to convince me to get back into it. So just been back, and this is my first year with Boca, which has been great. Getting to know the boys. I think the boys getting to know me. There's always the idiosyncrasies that goes along with the player and coach dynamic, and as a coach, you're trying to instill a certain game plan, and from the player side, they're trying to learn new things, and we always try and challenge them in that way. So it's been a good time. It's been an interesting time.
Great. Now talk about the win. Obviously, coming off that loss to Key Biscayne, which everybody thought was going to be a little closer. I know the weather down there obviously didn't help, but talk about this.
Yeah, it was
a nice win over a program that's had a lot of success over the last few years.
Yeah, that game in Key Biscayne was probably the worst start we could have had to the season for many reasons. The game was postponed and we had an internal scrimmage the week before.
Right.
So that was the first contact, and we got there and the conditions seemed to be good and we thought it was going to be good, and all of a sudden it just a torrential downpour. And I don't think we did a good job at adjusting the way that we played the game. We still tried to play a little bit of expansive game, and we just got caught short. Key Biscayne played a really good game. You can see those guys have been playing well together, really well coached, and like you said a little bit earlier, good with ball on the foot, good at identifying space. So, kudos to them. We worked really hard in the lead up to the game. I think myself and Matt Guest and Tristan, who coaches with me, we identified some areas in the game against Key Biscayne where we had to be better. And ultimately, we try to empower the boys with some further tools to do that. This was by no means a perfect game for us, and I told the boys afterwards, there's a lot of things we can work on, but it's a good foundation that was laid that we can that we can work on. If it was a perfect game, I would have said that's a good thing, but there's always things for us to work on. The boys had some good physicality. Our continuity was somewhat shaky at some points in time, and then lastly, our defense was great. We had a couple of goal line stands where the boys really came up to put their hand up and showed what they're about, which is all we as coaches can ask for.
For sure, yeah. Tell us a little bit about the Boca team. What's it comprised of? How many veterans, how many rookies, and who are some real guys to keep an eye on?
So we are in a very, very fortunate situation. I actually, I was thinking about today, we could probably field a second team if there was other teams that had subsequent, enough players. We've got some training sessions, 32 guys. So we have enough players for 2 full teams. I'd probably say it's a good mixture between guys who are new to the game and guys who've played it before. And it's that constant battle as a coach. You try and improve the guys that understand the game, but also teach the guys that don't really don't get it yet. So I'd probably say we've got about 80% of guys who've played before, and then 15 to 20% of guys that are relatively new to it. We've got some very, very talented kids, and some great kids in the team. Our captain Logan, who scored one of our first tries, he's a strong ball carrier. I experimented a little bit against Key Biscayne, put him at 8th man, just because he's a strong ball carrier. The experiment didn't work out. We stuck him back at inside center, where he's been great. Jordan Vassel also in the back line. He's an exciting player. I'm really excited to see what he can do. I believe he's got the talent to go a couple of steps further. It's just unfortunate about his dad, Chris Vassel.
We'll talk to Chris in a little bit.
So I've got some great, some guys that apparently last year were new to the game that this year is really putting their hands up, and a lot of kids are surprising me. At the end of the day, that's your litmus test, getting on the field when you get the chance and putting your hands up. And I've been really, really pleasantly surprised by some of the boys that are that you kind of think were inconspicuous in terms of how they play, but I'm very happy. The progression, my biggest thing is I just want them to progress and get better each weekend, and I think we're on the right track.
No doubt about it. Now, I was going to ask you, your biggest challenge is recruiting players in Florida, in Boca, but you seem to be doing a great job of that. Are these players come from football backgrounds, or is it a good mix of guys from other sports, or how many of these guys have been playing? Obviously Boca has a solid youth program. How many of these guys have been playing for 3 or 4 years already?
I would probably say like 60 to 70% have been playing for a while and either playing together. We actually have a couple of boys come down from Boynton. Who are also, I think, honorable mention to them as well. They are, some of them are new to the game, some have been playing for a while, but the best kids in the sense of very, very coachable, and I have to commend them all for that. They're very coachable. They listen to what you say. They're really eager to learn. They're by no means perfect rugby players, but they are putting in the effort and really, trying to improve and trying to learn and really listen to what we're saying. So that helps and adds, it adds depth to the team. There's always the issue of, kids understanding and the chemistry between the players. But We are very fortunate in the sense, and I think it's kudos to the administrators in the club, Chris Vassel, Garth. These guys put in a lot of effort to recruit players, things that most people don't really see the work off the field. So we do recruit football players actively, and we have a couple of come in that are, add immediate value to the team. But that comes with its own struggles. It's can't teach an old dog new tricks, and that's part of what we got to do. It's just, my football coach said I got to tackle like this. And so it's just, kind of fighting ways that, but we're very, very fortunate, and it makes my selection a little bit tricky because sometimes I got to think, who am I going to leave out of the team, because everyone's fighting for spots. So we're in a great spot. We're very, very fortunate.
No, that's what you want. You want those competitions for places, and especially with these youth clubs, you want that continuity. We've seen clubs come and go because they haven't had that continuity over the years of, when a parent that coaches moves away. You don't have any kids in the program, right? You're just a coach. How did you come about to coach Boca?
Well, I played for Boca 2-3 years ago, just
right.
A game here and there, and met Chris Vassel. And one day after we had a braai, as one does, and a couple of brandewyn's in, and he said, "Listen, I would love for you to come and join us with the coaching team." And I had to think about it, but at the end of the day, I made the decision. I still wanted to be involved in the game. I love the sport, and I think it's the greatest sport in the world. And if I can impact, boys' lives in any way, that's part of. I think it's a good thing for me to be involved in. And I did coach for a long time in South Africa, and I did really enjoy it. So, thanks to CV, I'm sitting right here now.
Good stuff. Yeah. Well, listen, the youth coaches are here to develop rugby players, introduce them, to the culture of the game. Winning's nice and all, but the most important thing is to introduce this game to these guys for life. They can into their 50s, just like I ref these guys from Toledo, Ohio, in their 50s and even 60s playing.
Wow.
Great stuff. Thanks, Johan. Appreciate it. Let's bring in Alan. Stick around, Johan, in case we have any more for you. But let's bring in Alan Lawson, who's what's your official position with the Wellington Wizards, Alan? Because
I am not the head coach. That's Pookie. So he's the head coach. I'm just the president of the Wizards. He's at practice right now.
So Alan is the president of the Wellington Wizards. One of the most successful youth programs over the last few years. He actually since their inception. Mark Pukey Patterson couldn't join us this evening. He claims that he coaches rugby every week of every evening of the week, and I feel for his wife in regards to that. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we might not have got a word in if Pukey had joined us.
That is correct.
But Alan, let's talk about the loss. This was your first game of the season, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yes. We literally just fielded a U19 team like in the last 5 days before the game. Probably about a third of those boys were all first-year players. So if you want to hand any of those Boca kids down, we'll take some of those 33 kids off your hands. Get us a full side. So yeah, we typically we average around 120 kids in the program, and we're down around 75 right now due to this whole COVID thing. So our numbers are drastically been hit. We've done everything. Our fee to play for registration is only $75. We usually charge $225. So we're doing everything we can to try to get some of these kids out to play.
No, it's great to hear. Yeah, I know Wellington has been, especially on the not so much the U19s, but everything below that, been one of the strongest programs over the last. When did the Wizards start, Alan?
2014 was our first year, and a lot of people don't know this, but I took my son. I know Garth back. We used to work together, and who's the president of Boca, and I think one of my football teams beat his son from Boca like 60-0, and he was standing at my door on a Monday, and he said, "I need you to bring some of those boys down to play rugby." So I did. We took some boys down in 2013. I think we took state that year with a coach from England, and he ended up going back. And then the Florida Rugby Union approached me. He said, "Could I get a team started up north?" And I got into Ron Varga and Pookie, and we put it together. And we did 23 kids the first year. I think it was 62 the next, 96, and then 120 ever since, except this last year. So we're hoping to get back. Our youth is really, really strong.
Yeah.
It's just this high school. I don't understand it. This high school, we've just struggled to get some of these kids out.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the parents are perhaps concerned. I know, some of the football teams really struggled to field teams this year and keep keep them off the COVID list. And I know you're not the only team. Cape Pirates, I know, are struggling with numbers as well. Boca seems to be one of the sort of outliers. I know Key Biscayne has great U19s numbers, but I know they've seen numbers dwindle below that as well. But tell us about this U19 squad, veterans, rookies, and some guys to watch.
So we really only have right now, I think. Well, we had 6. I think it's 5 U19 actual U19 players, and then this last week we had some trickle in over the last week. So we had about 5 trickle in, which was great for us. And then some of them were returning. They were here, living at home, and I think people are some of these high school boys are starting to get bored. And I don't know what happened the last 2 weeks, but once the game started popping up and people started talking about playing this, we started having some boys show up. So that's really kind of where we're at. And then we've got about 14, U16s. So we're set up for the next 2 years.
Awesome. Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges sort of recruiting players in Wellington? How's the city been with you guys in the county? And I think they've been pretty receptive, but obviously certain areas have more trouble with football coaches than others. But how's it been in Wellington over the years?
We've been very fortunate with the city of Wellington. As a matter of fact, next year we'll be playing at a new rugby facility behind Wellington High School with a full regulated size turf. There's 4 fields out there, and one of those will be a rugby regulated field behind the new high school football AstroTurf field. We're supposed to start playing our high school games out there. Something happened. I'm not quite sure. I was talking with the city about it because we're supposed to do our tour, but we're going to stay at Emerald Cove now and for the immediate future. And then next year we will shift out there.
Listen, any true rugby facilities we could have out there. I mean, I refed in Key West this weekend, and their pitch was, I think I counted out, was 67 meters wide. And I said, I wish I could ref all my games on a pitch this wide, because we obviously get so many, especially the high school games played on football pitches.
Yep.
50, 55, we push it a little bit out there. It doesn't help the kids when they're playing on such narrow pitches. That's great news. I know Wellington's I know Boca's had some guys as well, but I wasn't sure how familiar Johan was being a new coach. But talk about some of the Wizards that have moved on, to play up in college on the boys and girls side of things.
I'm gonna claim, and I'm pretty sure that my program right now over the last 4 years has had the highest college recruiting classes in the state. We've got kids going to Queens, Lindenwood, Life. David Rhymes was a Wizard. I found him in football. We talked about him earlier.
Yeah.
We had Dom Tianga, who's we've had more kids in our program, and we focus on that. And actually, we're partnering with Boca now going forward. We share a huddle account, so these kids can go in and create their tapes and send them to coaches. It's really easy to get recruited. Believe it or not, it's just if a kid it's amazing how reactive a lot of these coaches are. If kids just send an email, say, I'm interested in your program, here's a snippet, a lot of times they get a phone call or an email back in 30 minutes. It's unbelievable. These coaches in the programs. I mean, they just really want and thriving for contact, a lot of these kids. And I get talked to by coaches all over the country. And, we use huddle, we get them in, they take it, they ask us for numbers, and we get the contacts going in. And we don't care. I don't care if it's a kid from Okapi or Key Biscayne or Boca. We act all as one now and try to connect these kids to programs to go further on.
Yeah, no, Florida is definitely one of those sort of hidden gems. I know we've had success, as part of the USA South program and the Panthers going out to Vegas and the RCTs over the last few years, especially at the U16 level. And those kids are going to start getting into U19s now, and coaches are realizing that the pool of talent down here is a lot larger than perhaps the rest of the country gives us respect for.
It is. I totally agree with that, and I think a lot of times, and I deal with a lot of football coaches because that's where I got my start was in football. But I think there's some false promises sometimes with some of these coaches in saying you can go here, you can go there, but look, you can go to a D2, D3 school in football, but you can go to a D1, D2 school in rugby. Yep. We had 2 kids from Palm Beach Central last year, ended up at Norwich. They first year playing, right? They came over. I've been talking to them for years. They finally came over and they got a scholarship to go play at Norwich last year. So, and they only been playing the sport for for 5 months. And that's the type of things that actually happen, and these stories get out. I think the sport will start growing at the high school level.
No, the future is definitely bright in Florida at the youth level. There's no doubt about it. I think the pandemic has sort of put a slight dent in things, but hopefully we'll be through that by the fall and back in full swing. Alan and Johan, appreciate you joining us this evening. Good luck the rest of the way this season, and perhaps we'll have you on down the road here. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Ross.
All right, let's stay with the Boca theme. Let's bring on Chris Vassel. CV, pay attention.
Oh, hey guys, how you doing?
It's a good thing Alan Lawson didn't bring his trophies out. He wouldn't have enough hands to hold all the trophies that the Wizards have had. Chris, that may be Charlie's pixelated him out because of his nonsense. Chris Vassel, for those that don't know, Chris Vassel and I used to face off against each other in college back at the start when he played for UCF. I played. That's how long we've known each other. Yes. And then Chris went to the next level and played for life. Obviously, back down here, making a big impact with the Boca youth community. CV, give us what's your official title at the moment?
So I am vice president under Garth Duff Gray, and I just kind of help out with the recruiting and
carrying ball bags,
or doing any part I can do to help out the program or help out rugby and the growth of rugby within the community. So that's pretty much my role, for the Boca youth, and kind of liaison between the men and the youth side, and just to keep growing that culture, like Eyal said earlier.
Yeah, give us a bit of your rugby background. I gave the brief.
I started playing. Yeah, I'll talk myself up. What's up, Darren? So I talked myself up. I started playing. I was a wrestler first, and then my wrestling coach was a rugby player, and he had us play rugby for preseason in high school. And I was like, oh man, this is fun. So I went away to wrestle in college up in Kansas, and it was too cold. I was like, hell no, I'm coming back down to Florida. So I came down, I went to Valencia, and then played for UCF.
What year was this? I want people to hear how old you are. What year was that?
Listen, we're not gonna talk years here, okay?
Let's just say mid to late 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I'll tell you what, when I started playing, there was no lifting in the lineup. You still jumped. So,
that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, that's it. And then as it progressed, as the game progressed, I fell in love with it, kept playing, and then I played on a lot of select sides, the South down here with Kevin Keto, and also a lot of other coaches in the area. Coach for University of Miami. He was my college, South coach, and then went on and got to play at Life, got a scholarship and went out there and played on some select sides across the country, and probably was right here, could have, but I had a good time and went to school, messed around, and got a college degree, and then down here I'm working now.
And now you played for Boca for a while. I think you still hit the field a little bit.
And I came here because Paul Goodkin and I played at Life together in 2000. Won our Super League championship, and then he came down, and then after some years later, I graduated, and then came down here, and I had a choice between Fort Lauderdale and Boca, and actually, Boss called me and says, "Hey man, come down to Fort Lauderdale," and then Good King and Joe Perez said, "If you go to Fort Lauderdale, you're disowned." So I came, and here I am. Played on
Life crew sticking together. As they tend to do. A great alumni base with the Eagles. There's no doubt about it. Talk about
completely.
So obviously your son Jordan is involved playing with rugby, and
yes.
we'll give Go All Day some promotion in a minute.
Okay.
A future sponsor, hopefully. But yeah, talk about your role now with Boca. Your son Jordan playing for the U19s, but he's only how old? Is he 16 now?
He just turned 16. He's playing for U19s, and obviously the reason the coaches decided to put him up there just because of his years playing and kind of skill set, He's
been playing since what age did he start playing?
He started playing at 6. Mark Patterson was his coach before he left and went to Wellington. And he started playing, especially with some of the kids that are still on the team. that Jackson Patterson, who's now at Wellington, they all started together right when they're 6, and now he's 16, 10 years later, still playing at it. And, with his teammates like Logan Ballinger, they just keep climbing as they're kids and just developing and loving the game. So he's doing well. He's having fun. And, I told him not to tackle with his face anymore, and he learned his lesson this weekend.
Yeah, talk about Jordan and where some of the, you've even been involved, I know, in some of the representative stuff as well, the All-Star stuff. Talk a bit about that.
Yeah, so I started out with Matthew Hayden, and we were with the last year when it was the Florida Juice. And then it transitioned into the Jaguares. It was Cappy was kind of the catalyst in keeping that Florida team growing and going. And Alan Lawson said to bring him in if you want. Anyway,
bring Alan in. Yeah, okay, bring Alan back in, Charlie. We can talk about. Well, let's talk about the Jaguares, because obviously the representative side of things was a bit of a mess for a while. I think everybody would be honest with that. There was egos in the way, and coaching positions in the way, and people with other wishes other than the growth of these players. But now we seem to have come together. So tell us a bit about the Jaguares, guys.
So Alan, I'll just answer this before you take over. But the one thing that we were doing, it seemed like it was only South Florida, the South Florida teams, Wellington, Boynton, Boca, obviously, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Key Biscayne, and one or two teams, players from Sarasota or Naples coming over. And so, these last 2 years, we said, we need to start making all-inclusive of the whole state of Florida. So now, along with all the coaches now that are all involved with the team, are now putting this Florida All-Star together and now making it North and South. And we're just going to definitely ask the coaches to pick the best of the best from their programs, the U16s and U19s, and then we go represent, on May 15th at the MLR in Atlanta. So that's pretty exciting this year. Alan, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think exactly what he said. There's a couple things too that a lot of people don't realize. There's some confusion with ERA and with USA South. And to be honest, what's going on is we're trying to get alignment of a pool of players that will be available to play nationally, internationally. And we've agreed already with, and Chris and I have already had conversations with Salty and about the selection process and how those kids will be communicated going forward. Because what's happened a lot of times, kids get selected on these things and teams aren't even made aware that they're selected to go play in Denver or in Toronto. And all of a sudden you got a league match that's happening. And so we're trying to just, number one, develop the proper representation of pool of players that are available. And then number two, just make sure everybody's doing the same thing and agreeing on the same thing. And it's actually been very, very good. And listen, we're kind of in this proof of concept stage right now, but it'll get better. Everybody's aligned with that. And we're hoping that we have enough players for the North and South. If we don't, then we'll just have one big pool of players, and those will be the pool of players that everybody can select on for all-star programs, for U19 or U18s, I guess, nationally, and U16s and even U14s. So that's just one of the things that we're doing. And over the next several weeks, we will begin to start to formalize, because we know some of the players that we see, and the coaches start reaching out to other coaches, and then that list will start getting tightened down over time.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing this pandemic has sort of helped with is sort of set the reset button, is giving people time to say, how can we do things a little better? And I think not just the Florida youth program, I know USA is, I'm not going to get into details, but I know the USA is really looking at expanding their HPP program, make sure everybody's getting looked at as much as possible, not just at an RCT or at a camp, that no player is sort of, going through the holes in the net and going to another sport, and that we find all these hidden gems, whether it's in Florida or any other state. And now, as you mentioned, Chris, May 15th, before the Rugby ATL game, I know we're looking. I think they play the Free Jacks that day after the redone schedule, but they're looking to have a Florida versus Georgia All-Star game. I don't know whether they're going to have 16s or 19s, but that's going to be, great exposure for all these kids.
Yeah, big time, and that's what, like Alan said, and you just said too, is that we're trying to get an opportunity for these kids to not just feel separated from the rest of the nation, right? So it's time for, and obviously we're having all these colleges and teams, these touring side, these HPP teams come in and contact all the coaches here in Florida now and wanting to be a part of it, like the 404 ATL and
Yep.
Life University or Arkansas State, Queens University. So a lot of these teams now and coaches, they understand that we have the player mix and the talent pool here, and these young kids are growing up and they're just amazing. I saw Key Biscayne the other day when they played us, and those kids started out the same time with Jordan, and so
Yep.
just and Wellington, and just to see those kids grow up now, almost having full beard, it's pretty amazing, and just the way that they've developed and loved the interest of the game, and the conversation you had with Johan, Garth and myself, we've been just really working hard for 6 years to try to get in Boca Raton community because it was all football and soccer, right? The
Yeah.
Sabre soccer. And it took 6 years to going into schools like West Boca High, Olympic Heights, Spanish River, middle schools, Boca Community, Omni. So the whole list of those, and it took us a while. But obviously this year with COVID, it kind of messed us up and our recruiting numbers went down. But, we all the old boys came back and they came back and just, did very well.
No, it's an exciting time. When you've got Florida kids that have been playing rugby for 10 or 12 years already, by the time they get to U19s, it's gonna Chris drinking from his tray. It's gonna make a big difference. Colleges want these kids that have played for 10 years and have had a rugby ball in their hand for that long, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time and I appreciate the efforts you're putting into improving Florida rugby, especially outside of the state with the Jaguars. And I hope to see. Hopefully, those games will be streamed on May 15th up there in Atlanta, or Marietta, I should say. And we appreciate the work that you guys have done. Thanks for joining us this evening, Alan and Chris.
Good stuff. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Good luck the rest of the way. Oh yeah, go all day. Teddy Chapman, Boca player who runs that.
Shall I send you the invoice to you or to Teddy? Who should I send it to?
Send Teddy Chapman the invoice. He might not reply to you, but still send it to him. I think he owes us $100 already. But yeah, goallday.com is an athletic apparel company run by Teddy Chapman.
Oh, he'll come around and be a sponsor at some point, of course.
Exactly.
Of course
I'm going to get on it. But thanks, Chris. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate the time.
Guys, take care.
Good stuff there, Charlie. I could talk to those guys all night, and Chris would talk all night. But I'm not going to let him. That's why you have the power to kick him out, and that's what you just did. So I appreciate it. We've been going an hour plus already, so let's get. I know we have some highlights from other stuff. Tampa, and we have some Tampa and Tallahassee highlights from D4, I think.
Yes, give me 1 second because I was a little bit distracted.
Other games. I think we spent enough time on Boca stuff.
Oh my God! We're done with these guys.
Let's get to our non-games of the week. Listen, anybody that wants to upload highlights, photos, you can do that at rugbyfl.com/upload. So if you have any photos, videos that you want to send to us, here's some highlights from Tampa D4 against Tallahassee, which Tallahassee won 33-0. A nice win for Tallahassee there.
No, this is Jacksonville.
Oh, this is Jacksonville. Oh, as you said, this is the women.
Come on, man. Oh, my God. Now we're going to get a lot of hate mail just because of you, Ross.
Listen, I was going by the running order, Charlie, which you just completely threw away. Tampa women versus Jacksonville. This is where we effed up. We're going to mention this next week. Charlie, we had on the rundown that Tallahassee Tampa D4 was first, followed by Ocala, and then Tampa women. But Tampa women and Jacks women, I think, both playing their first game of the season, right? If I'm not correct. I think we had Orlando and Indian River last week, which was a bit of a one-sided affair. This one was a little closer, right, Charlie?
It was. Yes, it was.
29-22 in favor of Tampa. This is definitely men now we're looking at.
No. Still woman, man. Can't you read it? I took the trouble to actually put it in right there. This is why I normally wear my glasses, Charlie. Oh, that's a pretty good idea. Thanks for sending in those highlights. Yeah, I just want to quickly show some pictures also because we encourage teams to also send pictures and many of them they actually try.
There's a great show of Tampa Bay of Tampa Crew Women's Rugby.
That's a cute one. Oh,
Look at that.
everybody's some great pictures. So I don't want to.
I like those jerseys.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of
Yeah, so
jerseys,
the women smartly sort of spread their season out a little bit and had break weeks between the games, so they've got options to perhaps potentially postpone games if they need to due to COVID. The men, not so much, as we've seen it's a bit of a mess at the moment on the men's side with lots of games trying to be rescheduled. But the women some have sort of pushed their games back, and some have, and they all have weeks in. They smartly went the COVID schedule way, and they have gaps in between their schedules. Hopefully, we don't lose any women's games this season. Fort Miami have yet to open their season. I think they do on the 27th.
Hey, is that you, Ross, in the future? Is it? I was confused when I saw that picture because I know you were in Key West. So
I was not in two places at the same time. That is Bruce Swallow, who's been refereeing for forever, former Iron Horse player. Thanks to Bruce for because listen, Jacksonville is one of those areas where we don't have any referees at the moment due to COVID withdrawals. So we really need refs up in Jacksonville. Great to see Bruce coming out and running around up there and refereeing the women. Appreciate it. Who do we have up next, Charlie? I'm not even going to guess who we have next. So
yeah, you should. Yeah.
Throw them up.
So this is
completely out of order.
This is Tallahassee against Tampa D4.
Tallahassee, Tampa D4, and it almost looks like a muddy. That's one thing you don't get in South Florida is muddy pitches.
No.
We do get them in the north and west of the state sometimes, but some highlights here. This was a 33-0 win by Tallahassee. Getting good to see them back.
Thanks to Michael Gomez who sent these.
Thanks to Mike Gomez, contributor to the program. I think that's Pat O'Donnell reffing there. Is it not?
No.
Who's refereeing that one? Oh, that was Kiwi Nevin. I take that. Kiwi Nevin. Big thanks to our referees, obviously, who have really help out in this pandemic age. Kiwi Nevin, he lives on the east coast of Florida. He drove all the way over to Tampa and ref 2 games. And he also, earlier in the week, had a big chunk taken out of the ball of his foot. So I really appreciate Kiwi Nevin doing what he did this weekend. Went out to Tampa and ref 2 games and did a stellar job from all reports. I didn't hear anything negative, so that's always good. But a nice win here by Tallahassee on a very sandy, muddy pitch.
Hey, and we're going to keep Chris, so maybe he can add some commentary. And he can continue to promote, that company. He probably got some bucks there.
I got a free hat.
Which is
all good. Free hat. He does. Listen, Chris is one of those guys that always loves to talk. So, Chris, give us some highlights here. Just like me, you haven't seen these highlights before.
I haven't seen it.
And I will comment on the crossbar. That is the typical Florida crossbar, sagging in the middle.
That is.
I've seen worse.
Yeah, you have seen worse. Yeah, including that didn't even have posts.
Yeah, we didn't have posts when we played.
I
didn't have posts in Key West this week, and we had just as much fun. I know Charlie is a big proponent of kicking, which I don't 100% agree with in sevens. Charlie doesn't like when teams don't have posts. Key West did not have posts this weekend, and it was just fine.
No, it's not. It's never fine.
Key West, huh? Nice guys down there.
Awesome guys. Yeah. They're doing good work. Now we have some photos provided to us by, is that Artman Photography, Charlie? My eyesight is terrible. As I said, Artman Photography by Nick Hatcher. So Ocala, the Gladiators, as you can see by their cool jerseys there, played their first home game ever this season. Somebody's providing me my glasses. My son is providing me my glasses, Charlie.
Good. Now you're back.
I can see what's going on now, even though it's going to reflect a little bit. So Artman Photography providing us the photos. Ocala did have a team back in the day, but this is the first game officially. As you can see in the background there, a good crowd. They actually played in the stadium.
Wow.
So the first official game for the Ocala Gladiators, refereed there by Alfredo Lopez.
I would like to see the social pictures because these guys apparently have big plans, with all their women's fan club and all that stuff.
Listen, they're getting great support from the city and from the local community, yes. Wow. And they had this game at a stadium, and they beat Ave Maria. Ave Maria coming off that big win over Naples B. So nice start to the well, not start to the season. Ocala had played earlier this year. It got beat by, I think, Tallahassee.
Yes,
up there. But that's a great to see a brand new team out there playing at a stadium in front of a number of fans. So good stuff there from the Gladiators.
I'm gonna really.
Oh yeah,
we got some nice comments here about.
Yeah, this is why my son brought me my glasses, because I'm on the laptop tonight, not the big monitor, so I can't. My eyesight is not as good, and you did it in the.
I misspelled that.
Listen, I'm not going to comment on that, but you did put it out of order, so I'm going to blame you.
Okay.
Next set, we got some more highlights, Charlie.
No, that's it.
That's it.
That was a lot.
So let's take a look at our result. Let's go down the results from this weekend. Finally, now that we've got to that.
Let me just say one thing before that, because you were commenting about the jerseys. We were talking earlier that we are more than glad to, if you guys, as like this guy does with his hat, we don't charge for this like he does, and we would wear your club jersey if you just send us one, XL, and we can even pay for the shipping if you.
Yeah, listen, I got bare walls here. Maybe this will be my podcast setup perhaps from now on. So I'd like to put some jerseys on these walls and represent teams. So if you want to give me a jersey, a T-shirt when you see me refereeing, see me at Ruggerfest this weekend, I'm more than happy to represent teams on the pod for you. Let's look at our results from this weekend, Charlie, if you have a minute there.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go down the list while I look at it. Boca, obviously, we mentioned they defeated Palm Beach 24-12. Crew defeated Sarasota 19-5. That was D2 over D3. I think we said D3's had a couple of upsets so far this season, but not this past weekend in Tampa. We mentioned Tallahassee knocked off Tampa at D4 at 33-0. Ocala 21-5 over Ave Maria. Tampa women 29-22 over Jacks. The game that I refed, Key West 30 over Toledo Celtics 25. I know some of the boys are perhaps going to come up from Key West for Ruggerfest this weekend and try and fill in with any teams that need them. So if you need players, if you're looking to be short of players this weekend, reach out to me and I can get you in contact with Connell Badger, their president, and you can pick up a couple of fighting conks to come play for you this weekend. On the U23 side of things, Palm Beach Panthers U23, the team formerly known as FAU, defeated the team formerly known as FIU 34-20, completing the double over them. Naples defeated Gainesville, so we had Florida Gulf Coast defeating UF 62-14. That's an impressive win for Florida Gulf Coast there. I know UF have been struggling a little bit with the numbers, and the quality. That's a big win for FGCU. Have been quietly creeping up the rankings here. Not that we have rankings, but the rankings in my head, FGCU have been creeping up. Key Biscayne, I know they were missing a number of their backs. Charlie, you said to me some of them were playing soccer.
Apparently, they had a big soccer tournament, and RGs, they have to play soccer also.
These guys need to make their mind up. The Argentinian soccer team, when was the last time they won anything?
I don't know.
Their rugby team has defeated the All Blacks in the last 12 months, as far as I remember.
That was epic.
As Vassel answers a phone call. Vassel's going to join us as a co-host here for the rest of the episode, I think. Key Biscayne squeezed that one out 10-0.
He can be our DJ.
Despite missing a number of backs. Well, if we'd have had Pukey on, we could have talked about his DJ history. Yeah. Chris, do you remember where Pukey used to DJ?
Pukey was DJ and on the radio. This is Marky Mark on 99 Jams.
99. Pukey Patterson was a DJ on 99 Jams, if you can believe that. We need to get him on later this season so he can give us an intro.
He was a
99 Jiggy Jams. Yes, for those who don't know, in South Florida, it's a legendary station. We'll ask him that when he's actually on. Crew U19s knocked off Sarasota U19s 19-15. And then Chris Vassel knows that the final score of that game in the U19 game in Boca was 31-5. So that's a recap of our scores from last week. Do we have anybody that's jumped on an open mic again? Charlie's posted the link to jump on if you want to have any comments on your club or anything you want to say.
Not yet. I've had a couple of people.
I got something. One thing. Charlie, I forgot to mention this when you asked me. You guys remember Iron Horse in Winter Park?
We did. Well, I mentioned it when Bruce Swallow used to play for Iron Horse back in the day.
So, yeah, Bruce. That's how Bruce and I know each other, because we played alongside each other at Iron Horse. And then I went over to Orlando, and then from there I took off.
And Chris, I'm going to talk to Chris about a famous friend of his, and when we get to the end, we'll do it at the end of the episode. Maybe we can fade out on the two. Look who's jumped on. He wants his team's 2-0. His team's 2-0, and now he wants to come on every week. Look at the background. There's more Wales shit in the background than there was last week.
For some reason, terrible. Anyway,
nice top.
Your game this past week was canceled due to weather, right?
Yeah. So we got rained off over at the Pelicans, and I ended up going up to Ocala to watch their first home game.
Yeah, look at him there. Right there.
There he is, Carrie O'Malley, our FRU president.
Yes, indeed. So I met, she presented Ocala with a new Florida rugby union ball, and it was good. I went up on Tuesday night as well to help with it with this scrummaging, because they were absolutely destroyed by Tallahassee a week back, 70 points to 0, and I felt a concern for their safety. Being a fresh team and just no experience, and early in the season and so on. So I felt it would be nice to go up and just give some pinpoints to where they were going wrong with the scrum. And not that I'm a forward, everybody knows me as a scrum half, but if anybody knows what a scrum should look like, it's a scrum half, right? And a referee, oddly enough. So anyway, we turned the scrum around, and they went from a 70 point to 0 loss to a 21 point to 5 win, which was a nice turnaround for those guys. They really worked hard during the training, and they had 3 nice tries by Nick Hatcher, Austin Putzies, and Joe Farrow. So big shout out to those guys and the rest of the team. They worked really hard. They wanted that first win at home. And they really put.
How many people were there, Kenny?
I'd say probably about 150.
Awesome.
That's big.
It was a decent crowd, and I was surprised how knowledgeable some of the people were as well. For a new team, I think obviously they had the team in the past, and I think it was nice that they got this new team now, and they seem to sort of draw from the past a little bit with some of the support, and then there was some young fresh faces as well. So that was really cool, But
yeah, I'm sure there's some existing ruggers from back in the original Ocala days that were there. But yeah, good stuff, mate.
Yeah. So the social was interesting like that. We went to the lodge for a drink after, and it was kind of like I saw the reality of what we had on Saturday, and then it was a little reach into the past as well with some of the people, and it was kind of a little bit bizarre, feeling that it was a new team, but there was history. It was kind of weird, but awesome at the same time. Yeah. So it was nice to be part of that. Yeah.
And unlike Wales, Ocala played against 15 men. So that was nice.
But World Rugby insists on forwards playing the game, see, so they can't do it. They keep getting sent off.
Well, Kenny, I appreciate you joining us. I know you're going up to ref a couple of games in Jacks this weekend, weather permitting. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Hopefully, Jack this weekend. Yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah.
Thanks, mate. And hopefully, Wales can keep this run up. Hopefully, they'll play again against 15 men next week. They played against 14 men the first 2 victories, but they have played very well and a lot better than they did in the fall. All right, Charlie, we're looking at this weekend's games. Charlie, obviously Ruggerfest being the big spectacle this weekend. But there are some other games going on. A couple in Jacks. Both those copy games are canceled, which Charlie has failed to update on his website.
Yeah,
but
which one?
This website still remains. Although I do like at the top there, it says Rugby in Florida since 2021, which I'm amused by. But that's just TFRO. But it's great to see some other games going on as well. Palm Beach U23s will host UF if they make the trip, and a bunch of U19 games. Jacksonville, Wellington, and Gibbons all hosting games as well. So I'm not sure what I assume Ruggerfest will be our focus next week, assuming there are no crazy upsets on this. Jacksonville Boca should be an interesting U19 game. Jacksonville obviously defending state champions. Boca coming off that big win. Maybe we can get Aaron Church on from Jacks.
Yeah.
About that one next week.
And Cardinal Gibbons is his first game.
Gibbons with their first game of the season against Naples. That game will be 1 p.m. at Cardinal Gibbons. Nice little campus there. Although
we're gonna have video of that one.
We're gonna have video of that one. Yep. So good stuff there. All official scores, of course, are found at the FloridaRugby.org website. Charlie just provides the unofficial scores, although they're always relatively correct for the most part. And always, listen, send us in highlights. If your game's not being taped by Charlie or one of his minions, take your game yourself and take photos, and you can upload them at rugbyfl.com/upload, and we'll have them on next week. Appreciate all the teams that sent in game video tape and photos this week. And if any coaches want to jump on, they're always welcome. CV, what are your thoughts on, obviously talking about potentially extending the season, the state titles with the COVID? I assume everybody's still pretty excited about potentially. And Andrew's looking for photos of me playing second row in Key West. We'll get to photos of me later. Potentially.
No, I think it's good. Everyone's excited. They were chomping at the bits since the season was cut short for all divisions, especially here in Florida and across the country. But I'm glad if they extended more, I think the kids would be happy for it. Definitely.
Yeah, I think we're one of the only states really playing a full rugby schedule in the country.
100%.
My wife's looking for photos of me trying luck in QS. I don't think we have any photos of me lucking. We have a photo of me struggling.
You would be surprised. You would be surprised. We have that one.
Now listen, I will say the other guy is also doing the same thing. I'd ref 60 minutes and then they decided to put me at lock, which I'm a fat back by trade, not a second row. But I still listen. When people ask me to play in a position, I do it. And I stepped up, played second row for 20 minutes, almost set up a couple of tries. People were impressed at my ball distribution skills.
Whoa.
They weren't impressed at my tackling, as they did not. I managed to go without making a tackle in 20 minutes. As you see there, I have the cleanest jersey of the crew. But I think that was before. I think that was before the 20 minutes of my playing started. But I had a great time down there in Key West. It's an interesting place. There are some strange folk down there. But there were some good folk as well, and we had a great. We went to the bar, watched 2 Six Nations games, went and played, and then went back to the same bar and drank after that. I'm sure the shenanigans continued down on Duval Street. I did not join in that. I'm an old man, so I was a little tired and went to sleep. But good crew down there in Key West.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, CV, you were down there during the week, right?
I was out there during the week for work, and then I happened to look them up, and they said come out. We practice Monday, Wednesday, and I went out there and played touch with them on Wednesday. So it was good. They was like, hey, can you come play with us on Saturday? I said, no.
You got an all Boca day to run.
All Boca day, and I'm done contact. I learned my lesson last season when I took
there is an old boys game at Ruggerfest in the afternoon. What are the chances we see TV on the field?
I'll be in Jacksonville.
Oh, that's right. You were playing up there. Good stuff. Thanks, Garth, for the shout out. Garth, the president of Boca Youth. Yeah. Charlie, what else do we have to chat about here? Do we have some other videos we want to show before we?
Well, we have this one.
No, let's stop. I've forgotten this lady's name. What? Oh my!
It's on the rundown. It's on the rundown. You didn't read it. See?
I did. Phyllis. Now, some of you may have seen this video. Phyllis Pena is a lady. I didn't find out exactly where she's from, but somebody was being a peeping Tom in her daughter's bedroom and try to escape here. And watch what happens. Phyllis Pena, no rugby background, in the middle of the street. Amazing technique. Maybe we can watch that again, Charlie. The cops got there just after it. I wish we had this in slow-mo, but Phyllis Pena said, you're not getting away as her daughter standing right behind her.
Come here.
This is on concrete. What a tackle.
Look at that.
Lands on top. She was ready to poach, I'm sure. She's ready to get back up and poach that ball from the right side, obviously. But amazing stuff there from Phyllis Pena. I told Charlie we're going to name our player of the week after Phyllis. Here's Charlie.
I fixed it. Putting
on a rugby pitch. The winger was cutting in and was going to score. Phyllis Pena takes him down on the edge of the 22.
She is not releasing, so that unfortunately is a penalty against her. You know, we have to be.
As the wife says, don't mess with Mama.
Well,
and her daughter.
the officials came in.
An amazing tackle from Phyllis Pena. So from now on, our play of the week, if Charlie fixes it up, we'll have a play of the week. Phyllis Pena play of the week. Credit goes out to Phyllis Pena. I'm sure she's not watching, but that was an amazing tackle.
Ross and Charlie, I don't know how many people are still watching, but if they get
6,000. 6,000.
Well, the 6,000 people that are watching, I hope they go out there and work in their communities and keep building youth programs, the grassroots, to help feed our colleges and our men's side here, but also 100%. For the girls program. We need more women programs. We need the youth women's. We need the high school women. And there's only 3 teams, I believe, for women in high school, and we need to build it. And there's great opportunities for these girls now to go out and get a scholarship. Look at Sarah from used to play for us at Boca. Now she's with Boynton, and Sarah Barsom, and now she got a scholarship at Life, and other edges in the kitchen, and other girls that came from Florida are out doing good things.
Listen, if you're out there and have the spare time to be able to go coach, that's the thing. We need coaches. A lot of these teams end up coming and going because they don't have the coaches. If you're an old boy who's given up the playing time and perhaps their kids are going off to college now, who'd like to give back to the game, reach out to your local teams. Boca, Okapi, Key Biscayne, we'd love to see them get girls programs going.
Yes.
Yeah, give back to the game. This is a game that's given a lot to a lot of people, and a lot of times we see the old boys just not give back. And it's a shame. Some clubs are better with it than others, but hopefully we can really get the girls program kicking on. And a lot of them have got scholarships over the last 5 years.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
I couldn't say it any better, Ross. This sport gave me so much, and very good brothers and friends and sisters from around the world. It's amazing.
And listen, as the wife points out there, the big teams like Boca, Okapi, and Key Biscayne that have those old boys networks, the boys are doing well, but let's get the girls involved. There's girls out there that want to play. You just got to reach out to them, bring them out to games. It might take a couple of years to get it going, but we'd love to see it.
Yes.
All right, Charlie, before I get to our outro, do you have anything else for us? Chris, stick around because I want to mention your friend who's a lead singer of one of my favorite bands, and he can play us out. But Charlie, what have
how we
Charlie?
Chris the Makes.
Shut up.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a second. Charlie, what else? Did I miss anything? That's always the most important.
Well, probably. You know how we always talk during the week? Hey, we at the end we should bring up this and that, and like other topics. It just happens that at the end of the episode, it's like you can't really see. Yeah,
it's just Florida rugby, just pure chaos, and we run out of time. We've been going for an hour and a half. Which
we're gonna have to find some other way. I just want to acknowledge Valentina. She sent me proof that she was watching.
There you go.
So, she got the prize.
Charlie's daughter hanging out on the couch watching his ref. So, Chris, one of my favorite bands out of Gainesville, Florida, Lester Jake. They've sold nearly 2 million albums. And tell us how you know their lead singer, Chris DeMakes.
We grew up together in Port Charlotte, Florida. Good old Port Charlotte.
Johnny, went off to Gainesville. We should have played that. We should have played that song, Charlie. Charlie, Chris is singing it. Maybe if you already pulled the video, don't worry about it. But
no, I did.
We're gonna if you can pull up Johnny Quest Thinks We're Sellouts, because Chris is just singing that song. Less Than Jake is a ska punk band out of Gainesville, Florida. I think I've seen Less Than Jake more than any other band in my lifetime. And there he is. There's Chris. The last one. Oh, that's Roger. That's Roger. There's Chris in the blue shirt. Yeah. Good friends with Chris Vassel there. Listen, one of the best bands to come out of Florida.
Yeah.
Over the last.
These are Floridians. Okay.
Yeah.
They are from Gainesville. They have a song called Gainesville Rock City. Yes. But we're gonna let Less Than Jake play us out in representing Chris Vassel and Chris DeMakes, the two Chris's originally from Port Charlotte. Maybe we can get Chris out to a game soon.
Yeah,
when he's down here on tour. And he tours solo as well occasionally.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, Chris, I appreciate you taking the time. We've gone over the hour and a half mark. I think we covered everything. Thanks for all the coaches that joined us. Thanks for everybody that tuned in, especially those that stuck with us till the end. And we'll see you next Monday night.
Hey, guys, you guys are doing a great thing. You and Charlie, you and Ross. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Cheers, TV.
Ross, maybe we should do this every time. Get some music going at the end, huh?
We can play us out with a Florida band every time. I can arrange that for us. But this is one of the best bands out of Florida over the last quarter century. Less than Jake out of Gainesville, Florida. We can barely hear it, Charlie, but I'll let you play them out.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, guys. Have a good night.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
See you Saturday.
See you next week.
Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.